Whatever feels good to you, this is when we are going to decide, like, I am not in the right mental space for whatever the task is. And now I'm going to do these 3 things to reset. That way, when I come back to this task, or if I start a new task, I am going to show up so much better, and it's going to be reflected in my work. So the first thing that you're going to do is, hello everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, the Elevated Women's Club. Wow, we are in 2025. I am making this video intentionally because at this point, I didn't have the same excitement that I had in previous years going into 2025. And let me explain, because I actually felt a lot better. I felt better and I had less excitement, because I know that if you are watching these podcasts, that you are on this self-discovery, self-development journey, and you do not let New Year's define who you are at your core and what you're going to accomplish throughout that year. Likely you're just carrying on those same habits from 2024 into 2025, and you're just going to continue to build on them. So that's what I'm doing. And I am making this video now because I think people need to hear it. Because at the new year, it's more of a like, okay, starting January 1, I'm going to become this person. Starting January 1, I'm going to start working on my body. I'm going to start eating better. Starting January 1, I'm going to start building that business. And then comes third week of January and people are feeling a lot less motivated, and they can fall off like completely and then tell themselves, well, this is a little bit too hard. I'm going to start building my body in 2026, or I'm going to start working on my spiritual connection and building my mind in 2026, or I'm going to start that business in 2026. I'll be more ready then. I'll do what I can this year, but I'm not really going to intentionally get started until 2026. No. That is why I'm creating this video, because we are all going to go through things. We are all going to need a reset, and I'm going to show you exactly how to reset at any second of the day, any minute of the day, any time of the year. Doesn't matter what's going on. You are going to be able to do short resets. You can do this multiple times a day, right? But I don't want you to go through something that you have as a goal or a habit and be completely demotivated and feel like you can't get back on track, because you absolutely can. However, you also cannot do things from a poor mindset, meaning if you're not in the right mental state, then you won't be effective in whatever you are doing. You won't be effective in building your body because you'll be too worried about whatever you're worried about. You won't be effective in building your business because you'll feel completely overwhelmed and you won't want to continue doing it. You won't be effective at building your mind because anytime you try to learn something, you just feel like you can't get it and then you just want to give up. I understand. I am here for you. I have been there. I have experienced it. So that is why I'm going to show you exactly how I do my resets whenever something is not going the way that I want it to, whenever I don't feel like doing something or I'm not in the right mental state. I have to take a reset. And it's so easy. I feel like we overcomplicate things all the time, and then we let that build and build and build and compound on us, and then we just kind of remain inactive, immobile, and we let those feelings take us over to where we can't finish anything that we set out or wanted to do or thought we were going to be able to do for the year, because week 3 or week 4 came around and we just lost all motivation. No, I'm sorry, ladies, but we're not going to be those girls. We are going to make sure that we are accomplishing everything in life that we want to accomplish. We don't even care how long it takes. We don't care when we're going to get there because we're enjoying the journey. But we are going to talk about when those times come, when those hard, challenging times come, because they're coming. They are coming, ladies. How do we handle that? And how do we reset and get back on track after that happens? So, like I said, resets are not just reserved for the beginning of the year. They can happen at any point in your day, multiple times a day. In fact, I encourage you to take resets multiple times a day. Why? Because we have challenges. We have negative thoughts, negative beliefs, challenging perspectives, objectives, beliefs that are coming from other people and within ourselves that throw us off. during the day. It happens all the time. I don't care who you are. There will be a challenge that comes up throughout your day that may put you in more so of a negative mindset, a negative thought pattern. It may even just be from you. You want to accomplish something like, let's say you want to start posting content, and then your first video gets like 10 views, and then your second one gets 2, and then your next one gets 15. And you think to yourself, why am I doing this? Why, who wants to hear from me? No one. No, that's not accurate. That's not correct. Likely you just haven't posted enough. Likely you just haven't put yourself out there enough. Likely you just need to continue to improve on the great things that you're already doing, that you're already teaching about, until you get good. And until you feel confident and your confidence comes through the screen and impacts someone else's life. But a lot of times we allow that to derail us, to throw us off. I'm telling you this because this is something that I have been through, that I go through. I am a person. I have things and emotions that come up, just like everyone does, that will throw me off throughout my day. And when that happens, it's because usually we have a compounding effect of negative emotions that are just building on top of each other, negative thought patterns, beliefs, people coming in and telling us things that we don't like, and it builds and builds and builds, and negative emotions compounding on top of each other only build more negative emotions that come through in things like depression, anxiety, inaction, right? And when you don't have a positive space, a positive outlet, or a positive mindset to challenge and combat these things, there's no room for those negative emotions to run through your body. And like I said, it manifests itself in different ways, like anxiety and depression, because you're not filling your life with enough good. So taking resets, taking pauses is going to be designed to help you get into a better mental state. And how do I define a reset? It's very simple. We are not going to overcomplicate this. This is not new year. We are going to start now with a whole new mindset, a whole new body, a whole new business. No, we're taking it very slow. A reset is simply a pause. Before you start doing something new, or before you continue on with the task that you're already doing, likely if you're not in a good mental state, it's not going to be represented in whatever you're working on. So you have to pause. You have to stop. You have to take a deep breath. You have to go on a 20-minute walk. You have to meditate. You have to stretch. You have to call a friend. You have to journal. Whatever positive outlet you can use for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I know you have 20 minutes in your day, because I told myself I didn't have 20 minutes. Of course I have 20 minutes, okay? No one is as worried about the things in your head as you are. So for you, like I'm talking to myself here, to be so worried about things that are going on, or saying, I don't have enough time, I don't have 20 minutes to dedicate to myself and to actually pause and take a break. No, it's not realistic, okay? You are likely the only one worried about the things that you are worried about. So by you taking 20 minutes for yourself, the world will not end. The world won't stop. Time won't stop. You're going to be using this 20 minutes in a very targeted and effective way that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes to get yourself back on track. That way you can approach the task that you are already working on, or start a new task, and it's going to be seamless and easy, and it's going to feel so much better after you take this small pause and this small break. So that is what we're going to talk about. So before I talk about what we're going to do during these reset periods that we're going to take, I want to talk about the different types of resets that I kind of see within myself and within some of my clients. And a reset can be as extreme as deciding to cut yourself off from certain type of foods or drinks like alcohol or fast food. Or it could be deciding to cut yourself off from people, whether that be a toxic relationship or an environment, like you're deciding you're not going to go to bars or clubs anymore just because it doesn't make you feel like the best version of yourself. These are good times to make very declarative, strong resets in your life. And that does look a little different. And we're probably going to talk about the smaller types of resets that we want to do throughout our day when it comes to our smaller actions and our smaller decision makings. So a small reset can be taken if you don't feel like doing something like creating a report for your job that you know you need to create, or studying for a test that you know you need to study for, or dealing with a problem in your business that you just don't have the mental capacity to deal with at this second. That is when you are going to take your 20-minute walk, meditation session, journaling, or stretching, whatever feels good to you. This is when we are going to decide, like, I am not in the right mental space for whatever the task is. And now I'm going to do these 3 things to reset. That way, when I come back to this task, or if I start a new task, I'm going to show up so much better and it's going to be reflected in my work. So the first thing that you are going to do is name that emotion. And I know it sounds simple, but in the beginning, it is not, because I did this for so long. I would just let things go. I would let them build, and I would let these emotions that I couldn't put my finger on just overwhelm me, and to the point where I'm just completely taken over by emotion. I'm inactive. I can't do anything. And I realized that once you name something, you give it less power over you, because now you're able to say, oh, that's the emotion that I feel. Now I know how to deal with that emotion, or I can at least look up better ways to deal with this emotion that I am experiencing. That is how my brain works, and I know that I've told this to other people, and they seem to find value in it. And when you name the emotion, like typically, I'll give you an example. For me, whenever I start working, or used to, it's a lot less now, but it still happens all the time. But whenever I start working on aspects of my business, I start thinking about all of the things that I want to do, that I could be doing, that I see other people doing, and it just gives me an emotion of overwhelm. I just feel like I'm just completely overwhelmed, as I'm sure all of us do, right, with social media and all the things that everybody's doing and all the things we could be doing. But it's from a standpoint of, whenever you feel overwhelmed, it doesn't allow you to complete anything. It doesn't allow you to take action on the things that you really, really want to take action on and actually know you need to take action on, because they're probably lever moving tasks that you could be doing. So instead of doing those, you're now in a completely chaotic mental state whenever you're thinking about completing something for your business. So you're likely not working on something that's very value added for your business. I know I did this a lot. I would be looking at someone else's content. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to implement that part of her coaching program into my business. And then I catch myself, I don't know, writing down 50 ideas for new topics. And I'm like, why didn't I just analyze the way she did that one part of her coaching business and then go from there? Why am I looking now at creating 50 different pieces of content when I could look at this one thing that I want to implement for my business that I know would be so much more beneficial? But we do this all day. We do this all the time. We let our sense of overwhelm tell us that we can't complete something, because we don't even know half the time that we're experiencing overwhelm. We have so much information flooding us all the time that we're always overwhelmed, chances are. We haven't even realized that we're overwhelmed because we haven't taken that break and that pause to say, oh, I'm completely off task right now with what I'm supposed to be doing, and I would like to get back on task, but I'm experiencing something and I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe if I spent 5 minutes trying to think of what that emotion is, maybe I can learn how to deal with it. That's why check-ins are so important during this reset process. Even if you don't even think you need a reset, chances are you need a 20-minute break. And when you take that 20-minute break, whether that be in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, perfect. Just do 3 breaks a day. And for 20 minutes, see what emotion is coming up for you. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling joyful? Do you think you're feeling joyful, or do you know you're feeling joyful? Like, are you really accomplishing something that you really want to accomplish? Or are you just kind of like letting life happen to you, and then you wake up in 6 months and you're like, what have I been doing? What have I been going through? Again, I have been there. So that's why I encourage check-ins, because at the end of the day, when you don't check in with yourself, you are not giving yourself an opportunity to tell yourself, like, okay, I'm experiencing something. I may or may not like this emotion. What am I going to do to change it or continue with this high vibrational emotion, depending on how you're feeling? but you got to check in. You got to do the reset. You got to take the break. You got to take the pause. And when you start naming exactly the emotion that you were feeling in that moment, first off, it's going to get easier. Even if you feel stressed, even if you feel depressed, even if you feel very negative and like you can't do anything that day, I promise you, the more you check in with yourself, the more your brain and your body will start to trust you in your judgment. And it will become easier for your brain to be like, okay, well, we are feeling a little stressed. We are kind of in survival mode today because we feel like we got a million things to do and we haven't accomplished one. But I would like to take a break. And after this break, I think we should maybe think about the first task that we want to work on. And that is the second part of this whole reset that you're going to do. So this is actually going to be like a 1A portion of after you name the emotion. I strongly encourage you, like for my example, when I felt overwhelmed with my business, I'm like, okay, finally figured out I'm completely overwhelmed and I feel like I'm in way above my head, right? But now what's the first thing I can do? What's like the first small step and small action that I can take in order for me to not feel overwhelmed? Because again, you are the only one who's concerned with the thoughts going on in your own head. Why? Because no one else is up there, right? Chances are you can take a 20-minute break. Chances are you have enough time to name the emotion. Now you have to figure out how you are going to overcome this emotion, because you're not going to continue to be depressed. You're not going to continue to have anxiety. You're not going to continue to feel overwhelmed. You're not going to continue to be stressed, because that is so damaging, number one, to your body and to your mental health, that we can't live there. Your body is not even designed to live at these states for prolonged periods of time. So now we have to figure out, how do we get out of this? And it's one little step. For me, I, like most people, love to consume content. When you consume too much content, you don't know which way is up. You have so many ideas and things floating around in your head from others and from what you're creating and thinking about, that you have to take a break. You have to stop consuming the content and say, okay, for me, I could watch a step-by-step video to see how I can set up this coaching business that I wanted to start. And that's what I did. I found someone after a couple days, because it's not going to be immediate. I found someone that resonated with me, someone who I wanted to kind of emulate and use as like a guide and a template. And she happened to have a video that was like step by step. She had a course that I bought that was step by step setting up your coaching business. So I was like, worst case, I could just buy this course that is likely completely worth it, because she has my dream life and she has my dream business. So maybe I should just buy the course and look at the first video module and do what she says in that video module. Don't deviate. Don't try to lean into my own understanding. Don't watch 10 other videos on top of this one that I just bought. Just watch hers and pick the parts out of it that you want to incorporate into your coaching business. And that is what I did. And that took me so much further, so much out of my state of overwhelm and survival mode and inaction, that I was like, okay, I'm going to use this one person as a guide and I'm going to just follow what she says. And that got me so much further, once again, than if I would have just stayed stuck in that emotional loop of overwhelm, not name the emotion, and not try to pick one little thing that I could do in order to get out of this state of overwhelm. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Whenever you need that break throughout the day, you're going to take that 20 minutes and you're going to say, okay, what am I feeling? What emotions am I holding in my body, and why do I need this break? What is coming up for me right now? Okay, I got it. It is stress. What is the first thing that I can do to not be stressed? Maybe it is simply just going on a walk. Maybe it's simply just stretching for 20 minutes. Those are great actions to take. Don't think just because it's a small action that it's not working and your body is not loosening up and it's not learning to trust you, because it is. So many of us are living in this constant state of survival mode and stress and overwhelm because we don't check in with ourselves enough. We don't reset throughout the day enough, and our body is feeling constantly stressed and has no way to relieve itself of all this stress and negativity and these emotions, that it just continues to build up, clench, until one day you will likely explode. And nobody wants to explode. Okay, so Those are going to be your first steps in this reset, and do this as many times as you need to throughout the day because it will get easier, I promise. If you have to do 3 resets throughout the day, I promise you in a month or two, you'll only need to do 2. And then you'll only need to do 1 at like 4 months. And I know that sounds like a lot, but this is your body. This is your life. You are important and you are valuable and you are worth checking in on and you are worth naming those emotions and just stopping for 20 minutes a day to give some love and attention to yourself. You are completely worth it. The second thing you're going to do on this reset is you are going to positively visualize yourself completing this task. And yes, I am emphasizing the word positively because there are so many times that we don't want to do things because our brain is telling us that it's not going to work out. Like we don't want to start our business because it's going to fail. Or we don't want to complete this report for wherever we work or whatever our 9 to 5 is because no one's going to look at it anyway. Or we don't want to study for this test that we have to take in college because we don't even know if we want this to be our major and we're not even the smartest one in the class or probably just going to fail. I am telling you that this is unfortunately the reason why many of us don't complete the things in life that we want to complete because our brains are programmed to think more negatively than positively. We don't know because we don't have a crystal ball to see into the future. We only have what has happened to us based on past experiences to go off of. So we don't know if the business that we start is going to be a multi-million-dollar business. We don't know if that report that we have to do for our 9 to 5 is actually going to turn into a game changer for our business and we're going to look like a superstar and we're going to get a big raise. We don't know what's going to be on that test that we have to take, and we don't know if we're going to pass it or if we're going to fail it. All we have to go based off of is past experiences. So that is what the brain uses, unfortunately, to keep us safe. And likely, if you failed at anything in the past, right, your brain is going to tell you that you can't do something because you failed in the past, because that's not safe. We want to keep you safe so you can't do this new thing that you want to do because you're probably going to fail at it because, I don't know, you failed at one thing in the past and that one thing didn't work out because it's not programmed necessarily to be incredibly inspirational, motivational, and positive and think about all the incredible, amazing things you succeeded at in life, like getting to this point in life and just being alive. It doesn't think about that. It's just trying to keep you going. And anything that threatens your survival or your mental health, I know it sounds counterproductive because it is. The brain is such an incredible gift that we've been given, but it's also limited in its capacity of what it's going to feed you to protect you. And that doesn't really serve you well when you're trying to take your life to the next level. I know, trust me. So what you have to do is get really clear, again, on naming that negative emotion that you might be experiencing, and then coming up with the first step to get over that negative emotion. And then you're going to have to almost trick your brain because this is what successful people do all the time. They think they can do anything, even when their brain is likely telling them that they can't. They're like, nope, I have to do it. So it has to get done, and I'm going to be the one to do it. And that's when the brain is like, okay, well, if you do this, I'm going to have to come along for the ride. It doesn't have a choice. You have to almost trick it and positively identify and visualize you completing that task. So that one thing that you thought about that you can use to get over that state of overwhelm, like for me, buying the course and then watching the first video, visualizing myself already getting through the first hour and a half of that training course, I'm like, easy. Done. And then writing notes, visualizing myself taking notes and then actually putting the steps that are in the notes in action. I already visualized that. So my brain already knew like, oh, I guess she already did this. So should be easy. And then when you actually do it, your brain's already like, okay, we've been here before. We can do this. We've already taken the notes. We already did the action. We already completed it. So we just got to do it again. That is what your brain is going to do. But it's a complete reprogramming. You have to tear it down, break down every single thing. And I know it sounds hard, which is why a lot of people don't do this. This is a lot of hard work. Even visualizing yourself completing something is going to be a challenge in the beginning because your brain will be fighting you, telling you that no, that's not what we do we haven't done this. We can't do this. You can't positively visualize yourself completing something because we've never completed it. So it's going to challenge you. It's going to take a lot more than 1, 2, 3 times of you trying to do this for your brain to catch on and say, oh, okay, yeah, she's trying to do something and now I have no choice but to get on board. So now we have to do the thing. And I'm telling you, when you start getting really good at this visualization and just picking those little tiny things to chip away at your goals, I am telling you, your life will be changed. If nothing else, your mindset will be so much further along than most people's that immediately tell themselves that they can't do anything and then just stay stuck in not doing the thing because they let their brain win. They let that negativity overcome them and overwhelm them, and it just stopped them from doing everything they wanted. So now you are in the top 5, 10, 1%, whatever that looks like, of people that is saying, nope, I can do this. I am able to accomplish this thing and I'm going to get it done because now I've already pictured myself doing it. Because first off, what could it hurt by you trying these steps and just being more positive and trying to put your brain in a positive state of mind more often? What could it really hurt? What would you accomplish too if you trained your brain to be more positive and to go into situations saying, no, we can do this, right? Because we accomplished all those other 20, 30, 40 things last month. All those little actions that we accomplished, we did that. So no, we can do this next thing, this next challenge. Like the reason why so many of us, again, have a lot of inaction, a lot of negativity is because we haven't worked on ourselves enough. We haven't prioritized our mental health and we have let negativity build up, stack without enforcing any of those positive aspects and attributes about ourselves, any of that positivity, any of those roles and goals that we accomplished and gotten. We haven't fed ourselves enough of that information because, again, your brain is not going to recall a lot of that on its own. It's programmed to keep you safe.